Another day, another video. And the only reason I'm able to do this is because I did actually sit down and organize my life. And one of the ways I organized my life is I sat down and I took a look at my priorities. And I wanted that to be helpful, especially for people who are creative, because I think sometimes we just kind of don't pay attention to those kind of organizational things. I think sometimes we just sort of like go with the flow or just think that things will just naturally happen. And it can, but if you are prone to be distracted, not having your life in order, not having your priorities in order will really ensure that the distractions will lead you astray, and the things that you needed to accomplish, you'll find that it will never be accomplished. So with that said, let's quickly go over this because I don't want this video to be long. Yesterday, as soon as I finished recording, one of the boys woke up, and I don't want to risk that happening again. Otherwise, it would be a video with a baby in my lap, and that will not be fun for anyone. So when it comes to priorities, the first thing I would suggest that you do is write out the list in order of importance. You don't have to be doing any of these things. That's the beauty of it. When you're talking about your priorities, you're essentially telling yourself, what are the things that I think are most important? If you don't know that, that's why I wrote the tip. If you aren't sure about your priorities, write a list of what you need to accomplish. I actually did both of these things. I started with a list of priorities, but I wasn't necessarily sure if that priorities was the correct thing, or not necessarily the correct thing. I wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go, what would be most important of the list of priorities. So instead, what I did is I wrote out things that needed to be completed. And I'm technically not done with the list, but what I noticed were certain themes. And if you notice certain things coming up, then that tells you that the thing surrounding that theme is really the most important priority for you. And so think about it this way. If everything you keep thinking about involves writing a certain story or comic books, then one could say that creating a comic book would be your major priority if everything wraps around it. So if you're putting, my priority is to draw an hour a day, or to practice writing a script, or, anything like that, anything involved thematically with something, that would be a top priority. For me, one of the things I discovered is making videos is actually a top priority. Why? Because I need to build a platform, and platform one for business, because inevitably you can't build a business if you don't have a platform with which to work with. But it's also about building a solid community. So making videos, doing things like blogs, being active on social media, that now has to be a higher priority. Certainly writing my trilogy, getting started on building this superhero universe that I've been thinking about, these thematically involve writing. So writing is a priority, but the superhero, thing is probably going to be more, I'm not sure yet. It's going to definitely be books, but as part of it, when we're thinking merchandising, and, for me at this point, I'm becoming more visual. So that involves things like practicing drawing. Therefore, writing and drawing has to also be a priority. Speaking Japanese is a priority. My goal is to be able to move to Japan. And, having been there before, it's not easy if you don't understand the language. Therefore, speaking Japanese is a priority. And so once you begin to establish what are your priorities, you can begin to list them in order of importance. And then once you do that, you can then take a look at your schedule so you can see what your time is actually being used on. If your time is being used on, and we're not talking about time being used on work. We're talking really free time, because if you have a job, like for me right now, my job is to take care of the boys, and then that will be ending, technically the end of next week. That'll be ending. But right now, my job is to take care of the boys. Therefore, when they're awake, that involves feeding, playing, changing diapers, all the care that goes into, taking care of babies. That is a job. So the job aspect, that is an established thing. It cannot be changed. Where you go to work, that can't be changed. What you're looking at when I'm talking about schedule is you're looking at your free time. How is your free time being used? Are you solely focused on watching YouTube videos? Are you doing things like taking classes at Skillshare? Are you, how does it match up with your priorities, which goes into number 3? That's where you assess the level of your current balance. How is your time being used? Are you doing it in a way that values your priorities? If not, then you will have to reorder and reorganize as necessary. And an example of that is taking back up studying Japanese, because even though speaking the language is a priority, and it was a priority enough to carry me through last year and then the beginning part of this year, I still ended up taking a break, for very, I still ended up taking a break. And in looking at my day and looking at how much, everything I did had nothing to do with my priorities, I was one who was just, looking at YouTube drama, looking at YouTube drama, looking at Twitter drama, I was doing some writing, but I wasn't doing as much writing or as much planning as I should have. And once I looked at that, I had to reorder. Now for me, I said I don't like SMART goals, but I do like project goals, which I did do with my worksheet, my project goals. So of getting things done, that's how things started. And then of course, from that you go into my worksheets for to-do lists and things like that. Like I said, I actually love Lavenger products. If you have that kind of money to spend, I would most definitely recommend that as a organizational tool to use. Otherwise, dealing with priorities is relatively simple, because once you do your priorities and once you get that in order, then you can actually begin to establish a real working schedule. For me right now, I have a list of 5 things that need to be done every day. this is number one of getting a video done. The boys nap during this time. Therefore, this is the perfect time to record a video. So if I record a video first thing, then, I can spend the rest of the free time editing, rendering, doing all of that. And while that process is in the background, then I can, when I'm not dealing with the boys, then I can do some writing. Get some writing done. That's goal number 2. Uploading the video is number 3. It's okay if you record the video and edit the video, but if I never upload the video, then, that's not a good use of my time. Again, building a platform is part of my business planning, business building, which is one of my priorities right now. So I upload a video. I make sure that they go to my Twitter account and my blog, so that people who have been reading my blog, they'll also get those videos. And it also does good too, because then it allows me to build that blog site that I've been doing with videos, instead of having to constantly set out time to type out a blog post, because I don't always like to do that. So, uploading the video and making sure that it goes to my social platforms, that's number 3. Then, of course, I need to make sure that I do my language training. Right now, I use Glossika, and Glossika is great in that it is repetition of sentences. So, you're listening, they give it to you in English, they give it to you in Japanese, and you repeat it. And you are essentially training your mouth and training your mind in Japanese. It's a great product. Maybe I'll do a product review on that at a later date. But that's number 4, making sure I do that. Then comes the drawing. And a lot of times it's actually great because I can do the language training and the drawing at the same time. Because the great thing about Glossika is you're not looking at text. You are repeating verbally. And the goal is that in these repetitions, it's going to build your vocabulary at the same time, because you're beginning to associate, the English and the Japanese together. It actually works, because there are still sentences, because I did it a little bit with Serbian and a little bit with German, and there are still sentences in both those languages, even though it's been over a year since I've done those. There are still sentences that I still remember in those languages. So it works. But those are the 5 things that I do in my free time. And, when I get those things done, then I feel accomplished, because those things have gotten done. And it makes it a little bit better if I take a break and do things like look at a YouTube video. But what I find is that with my priorities set in order, you actually will find that you will less want to do those things that were distractions. Not that you won't pay attention, because to a degree, sometimes, like being part of the Comicsgate community, I do like to see, what is going on in the community. So it's very necessary. But it's not the most important thing, because I don't necessarily like drama like that, because drama does not enhance my life, and it doesn't enhance anybody's life. It's just literally looking at drama. But I get it. It's part of a fight for better comics, better books, better music, better everything, without the overt SJW messaging. I don't know if you could hear the FedEx truck that just drove by, but So when you do your priorities, and I hope that you do, and you begin to see what is important, I really kind of hope that it will help you focus in on the things that need to be done. Because the goal is to actually not just talk about doing certain things. Like, it's one thing to talk about building a platform, but if you never do it, then you'll never grow. It's one thing to talk about writing a comic or creating a comic, but if you never do it, then what does it matter? So it's really about making things that you say you want to do matter. I hope that is helpful. Tomorrow, if I have time, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I have been thinking about doing an example of good storytelling, because I've talked about bad storytelling, but I think good storytelling is also a great way to learn. So hope you guys have a great rest of your day. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button, the like button. Help me grow this thing, spread the word, all of that, whatever. Otherwise, have a great day. Bye.